I'm going to answer a question that is asked of my firm quite often, and it's a very good question. The question is, what is it about today's mineral acquisition market compared to, let's say, 5 or 10 years ago? And candidly, it's just a matter of pure synergy. And what I mean by that is that 10, 15 years ago, if you went to buy minerals, you were looking for a geological idea in which a geologist, a geophysicist was looking to drill a vertical well. And based on their interpretation of the drilling activity, you tried to buy minerals in an area you felt like would have some type of successful exploration or development. You could almost align mineral acquisitions along with the same risk of drilling the well. Because if I bought minerals under a vertical well and it was successful, well, then I ended up with the golden goose. I had the great prospect, I had successful minerals, and I could make really good money based on what I paid for them. If they drilled that vertical well and either due to mechanical failure or geological failure, I might own minerals that now have a blemish, or they could in fact be completely condemned because there was no other way to successfully drill oil and gas, or at least it was a major deterrent from others wanting to drill in that area. Today's a whole new day. Today is completely different. Now what's happening across the United States is that we have these massive basins. Some of these basins are 300 miles wide, they're 900 miles long, they may cover 15, 20 million acres. And within these big basins, these buried Grand Canyons, are these huge shale deposits. And those shale deposits are not geologically hard to find. In other words, you know they're down there. They're between 3,000 feet and 12,000 feet in depth. You're not having to worry about if you're too far right, too far left. You're not worried about being outside the boundaries. It's more of a mining or engineering play. So what makes the difference today in buying minerals is that three things are really important. One, the success rate of oil companies drilling successful wells in these shale formations using horizontal drilling is running better than 95% success rate. It's probably closer to 98%. Generally speaking, the only reason a well fails these days is probably mechanical failure, and that happens maybe 1 out of 1,000 wells. So I don't have to worry about my minerals being condemned anymore. I don't have to worry about being in the wrong location per se. I have to worry more about quantity. How much oil and gas will they pull out of the reservoir? The second thing that is clear is that there's more minerals to buy than any one of us have money. I could collect 1,000 millionaires, put $1 million a piece in, $1 billion to spend, and it doesn't even touch the amount of available minerals that can be bought across the country in these shale plays. So it's not about how much you have available. It's about knowing where to buy and buying the right minerals at the right location for the right price. That takes an expert. No different than if you went on a guided hunt. You might be hunting bear, you might be looking for dove hunting, you might just say, I want to know the best place to go bird watching. But you need an expert who understands exactly what that particular element looks like. You got to know what the animal looks like, where to hunt, when, how, all the details. In this case, minerals are very important to know which shale basins are the most successful. We personally here at Eckard Land and Acquisition have minerals in about 4 or 5 different states. Out of all of our 35 years of expertise, I have narrowed down the fact that I want to be in the Oklahoma, Anadarko, and Arkoma Basin. I like the state. I like the rules. I'm really impressed with the value I get for the minerals I buy and the money I invest. I also find it to be a very, very low risk and opportunistic state, meaning that if I have capital, I'm going to find some really good value assets in Oklahoma for a number of reasons. And then last but not least with minerals, what I'm really looking for is I'm looking for minerals that are going to have substantive value, meaning that I don't want to go into an area where I have one zone of potential, maybe the wells last 5 or 10 years. I want to be in an area where there's multiple horizons, meaning that oil companies will continue to develop and produce and successfully extract oil and gas over decades and decades. Now, I'm 55 years old. I don't suspect I'll be around by the time they finish pulling all the oil and gas out of the minerals that I own. But what I am suspecting is that I am in a wealth generation mode. I'm looking to take my money, create higher value, higher wealth, current cash flow, creating an income, but I want my wealth and my basket of mineral values to go up and up and up. How do I do that? I buy minerals in these shale plays today, knowing that I can buy in very proven areas with big major oil companies drilling, 95+% success rate, and I know that every time they drill, there's more and more zones they haven't even touched today. So that gives me an increased value, long-term cash flow. And so the difference today versus 10 years ago is the following. I'm not worried about dry holes or condemnation of my minerals. I consider them to be low risk. 2, I consider the fact that there is a huge buffet. 30 states in the U.S. now have shale proven within their state boundaries. I just have to choose where the T-bone steak is. I have to choose the best possible opportunistic area, which I believe Oklahoma is the right state to be in. And last but not least, I have to figure out how much capital that I want to put to work because I want to create wealth. Do I put $500,000, $1 million, $5 million to work, knowing that whatever I put in is generally looking at a 10% rate of return and maybe a 5 to 10 year maximum growth rate? I think that's really what makes minerals different today than before. Before, I had one zone, one vertical well, decline curve. When those minerals were produced or that production was produced out, my minerals may have a very minimal residual value. Today, minerals I buy have a substantial residual value for all the reasons I just described. I'm Troy Eckard. I'm the CEO and manager of Eckard Land and Acquisition. When you ask me what's different today than 10 years ago buying minerals, it's 180 degrees different. Low risk, cash flowing, long term, all the things I want to create wealth. Thank you for listening.